Ever feel like you're so close to nailing that Selenium interview? Like, you know your stuff, but you just wish you could see what a truly great answer sounds like? Well, you're in the right place. Today, we're going to break down a mock interview, piece by piece, to see what separates the hired from the thanks, we'll be in touch. Let's dive in. So here's the deal. I want you to treat this like it's your interview. As I throw out each question, pause for a sec and think, how would I answer that? Seriously, play along. By the end, you'll know exactly what you've got down pat and maybe where you need to brush up a little. Ready? All right, let's meet our candidate. Her name's Priya, and she's got about 1.5 years of experience with Selenium and Java. Now, that's a really interesting point in a career, right? You're past the basics and you're starting to connect the dots, moving from just knowing what to do to really understanding why you're doing it. And you bet the questions coming her way are going to test that. Okay, here we go. Round 1, Selenium fundamentals. This is all about testing that core knowledge. Let's see how Priya does. And the interview starts with a real classic, right? What is Selenium and what are its components? Seems simple, but your answer here really sets the stage. It's a perfect first check on your basic understanding. So what's Priya's take? Boom. That is a perfect answer. It's clean, it's to the point, and you know what's really important here? It's current. She didn't mention Selenium RC, which is deprecated. That's a huge green flag. It shows she's not just reciting old textbook definitions. She knows what's being used today. And calling out WebDriver as the main engine? Yep, that's exactly what an interviewer wants to hear. All right, next question. And this is the absolute bread and butter of web automation. How do you actually find stuff on a web page? We're talking about locators, of course. These are basically the addresses you give your script to tell it, hey, go click that button or type into this box. And here they are, all 8 of them. Priya lists them all out, which is awesome. But hold on, because this is where you can really shine in an interview. Just listing them is good, but explaining the pecking order, knowing which one to reach for first and why, that's what makes for a great answer. And this right here is the golden rule that'll make any interviewer's ears perk up. You want to explain that there's a hierarchy. ID and CSS selector, those are your go-to, your most reliable tools. They're fast, they're stable. XPath is like a super powerful but sometimes finicky tool. It can find anything, but since it's tied to the page's structure, a tiny UI change can break it. Showing you get that trade-off, that's a massive win. Okay, I love this next question. It gets right down into the code. Find element versus find elements. It sounds like a tiny difference, just one S, right? But oh boy, the way these two work has a huge impact on whether your scripts are sturdy or if they fall over at the slightest problem. So let's break it down. Find element is super specific. It's you saying, I need to find one of this thing, and if it's not there, something's seriously wrong, so stop everything. It'll throw that no such elementation. Now, find elements is totally different. It's like you're casting a wide net. You're saying, find me all the things that match this. You might get a whole list back, or you might get an empty list, but, and this is key, it won't crash your script. It just comes back empty-handed. Knowing which one to use when is just fundamental. Yes. The topic that causes so much pain for automation engineers. Timing issues. You know the deal, the web page is still loading, but your script is already trying to click a button that hasn't appeared yet. Fail. So how do you make your script just, wait a second? That's what this question is all about. A great answer here shows you know the difference between a sledgehammer and a scalpel. An implicit weight, that's the sledgehammer. You set it once at the beginning, and then it applies to every single element search for the rest of the session. It's kind of clumsy, and it can really slow your test down. But an explicit weight, that's the scalpel. It's precise. You use it for one specific element, waiting for a very specific condition, like wait until this button is clickable. For building fast, reliable tests, you almost always want to reach for the scalpel. All right, round 2, practical challenges. We're leaving the textbook answers behind. This is about showing you can handle the messy reality of automation. Whoa, this is a big one. It's like a 2-for-1 question on the things that cause the most headaches and flaky tests. We're talking dynamic elements. You know, the ones with IDs that change every time the page loads, and those synchronization problems we just talked about. This is a real test of your problem-solving skills. And Priya nails it. For those tricky dynamic elements, you use a more flexible XPath, maybe with functions like contains or starts with. And for the timing issues, she brings it right back to what we just discussed, explicit weights using WebDriver weight. You see how she's connecting the concepts? That's huge. It shows she's not just memorizing answers, she actually understands how to put these tools together to solve real problems. And really, that's all synchronization is. It's not some kind of dark magic. It's just patience. It's telling your script, hey, before you try to do anything, just make sure the app is actually ready for you. That simple idea is the secret to getting rid of flaky, unreliable tests. Okay, on to the final round, framework architecture. This is the big one, folks. This is where you show you're not just a scripter, you're an engineer. Can you think about the big picture? Can you design something that's built to last? And here it is, the absolute cornerstone of any good automation framework, the Page Object Model, or POM. If you're building anything more than a handful of tests, you have to understand this. It's what keeps your project from becoming a tangled, unmaintainable mess. Priya's definition is spot on, and the why is so important. Just imagine the login button on your website changes. Would you rather go digging through 50 different test scripts to find every place you used it, or change it in one single file? That's the power of POM. Each page gets its own class, its own little blueprint. It keeps your code organized, readable, and a heck of a lot easier to update. So this next question is where you really get to show off your architect brain. Explain your framework structure. Basically, the interviewer is asking for the blueprint. How do you organize everything? The tests, the page objects, the test data, the reporting? How does it all fit together like a well-oiled machine? And this is what a solid framework looks like. Everything has its place. You've got your page objects that handle interacting with the web pages. You've got your test classes that contain the actual test logic. You have a folder for utilities, for test data, for reports. See that? It's not just a random pile of files. It's an organized, modular system where every piece has a specific job. Okay, the interview's done. So what's the verdict? How did Priya do? Let's break down the feedback, because this is where the biggest lessons are, not just for her, but for you too. This feedback is so important. Look, Priya knows her stuff. The theory is there. But to really take it to the next level, she needs to tell stories. It's one thing to define an explicit weight. It's another thing entirely to say, you know, on my last project, we had this super flaky test because of a slow-loading table. I solved it by using an explicit weight for the table to be visible, and it made the test 100% reliable. See the difference? One shows you've studied, the other shows you've actually done it. It's about connecting the what to the why with a real example. So we've gone from the absolute basics all the way up to framework design, a lot of ground covered. But now, this final question is for you. As you listen to all this, what was the one thing that made you think, I need to get better at that? Was it getting faster with locators? Really understanding weights? Or maybe it's what we just talked about, learning how to tell better stories about your own work. Whatever it is, that's your next step. Go get 'em.